Hit the playback switch. Let us test the audio compression. I stood leaning against the polished steel fender of a vintage roadster I had just spent 6 months completely rebuilding from the frame up. My lead technician flipped the toggle on the diagnostic board. The car's custom interior sound system booted up. I had installed a heavy-duty hard drive recording module tied directly into the vehicle's security system. The speakers hissed with static for exactly 2 seconds. Then, a voice came through the high-definition audio setup. "Sean, wait! Be careful. The leather is brand new. Richard just finished the upholstery yesterday." It was Mia, my wife. I stopped breathing. The wrench in my right hand suddenly felt incredibly heavy. "I do not care about his upholstery," a man replied. I knew that arrogant, grating voice instantly. It was Sean. He was a ruthless corporate liquidator who had spent the last 3 years aggressively trying to buy my custom fabrication and engineering business. He wanted to strip it for patents and fire my crew. I had thrown him out of my office twice. Heavy, unmistakable sounds of physical movement echoed through the speakers. Groans, shifting leather. My lead technician stared at the floor, his face completely pale. He reached out to turn the volume down. "Do not touch that dial," I commanded. My voice was dead level. "Let it play." The audio continued. They were in the passenger seat of the car I had built for her. "Did you get him to sign the blank operating agreement?" Sean asked, his voice breathless. "Yes," Mia replied. "I slipped it into the stack of vendor invoices this morning. He trusts me completely. He signed the bottom line without even reading the header." "Good," Sean said. "By next Friday, the entire $4 million in the corporate holding account will be wired into our offshore trust. The shell company will absorb all of his liquid cash. We leave him with the empty corporate shell, the upcoming tax liabilities, and the massive vendor debts. He will be totally bankrupt by the end of the month." "I cannot wait," Mia whispered. "I will file the divorce papers from the hotel in Monaco. I am so tired of smelling motor oil and metal shavings every time he comes home. You have no idea how boring it is playing the supportive wife." "Just 1 more week," Sean said. "Then we burn his life to the ground." The recording clicked off. The diagnostic test finished. The silence in the garage was absolute. My technician looked at me, waiting for an explosion. He expected me to smash the windshield. He expected me to scream. I did not do any of those things. I placed the wrench neatly onto the rolling tool tray. I took a clean rag from my pocket and wiped the grease from my hands. "Erase the test log," I told my technician. "Take the rest of the day off. Do not say a single word about this to anyone." "Yes, boss," he said, practically running for the exit. I walked into my private office and locked the heavy steel door behind me. I sat down at my desk. I did not feel sorrow. I did not feel grief. I felt a cold, hyper-focused rage settling deep into my chest. Mia and I had been married for 6 years. I built my engineering firm from a single rented garage stall into a massive, highly profitable enterprise. Mia worked in wealth management. I trusted her implicitly with the financial structure of my business. I gave her full access. I gave her my absolute loyalty. She wanted to steal $4 million, bankrupt my company, and run away with the very man trying to destroy my life's work. I picked up my phone and dialed David. David was not just a corporate lawyer. He was a former federal prosecutor who specialized in hostile corporate takeovers and aggressive financial litigation. "David," I said when he answered, "I need you at my shop, immediately." "I have a meeting in 10 minutes, Richard," David said. "Cancel it," I replied. "My wife is conspiring with Sean to embezzle $4 million from my holding account next Friday. They are using a blank operating agreement I signed this morning. I need to crush them." David did not hesitate. "Give me 20 minutes." David arrived carrying a heavy leather briefcase. I played the audio file for him. He sat in the leather chair opposite my desk, his expression hardening into stone. "She has the signed authorization," David said, pacing the room. "She is going to use it to execute a full transfer of the liquid capital into a shell entity. Sean will be listed as the primary beneficiary of that trust." "How do we stop the transfer?" I asked. "We do not stop the transfer," David said, looking at me with a sharp, dangerous smile. "We let them steal the account, but we change what is inside the account." I leaned forward. "Explain." "You own a secondary subsidiary," David said. "The commercial real estate holding company you bought out 2 years ago. The one holding the toxic commercial lease in the warehouse district. That subsidiary currently holds exactly $5 million in leveraged, non-dischargeable debt." I nodded. "I have been slowly paying that debt down using profits from the main shop." "Not anymore," David said. "We are going to legally restructure your accounts tomorrow morning. We will move the $4 million of clean cash into a totally secure, blind corporate trust in your name alone. Then, we will take the $5 million toxic debt and assign it directly to the holding account Mia is targeting." "Will she see the change?" I asked. "No," David said. "The account numbers remain exactly the same. The routing framework is identical. When she and Sean execute that forged document next Friday, they think they are pulling $4 million in cash. Instead, they will be legally assuming personal, binding responsibility for $5 million of corporate debt. By signing the transfer with malicious intent, they waive all corporate protection. They will owe the bank $5 million immediately. Do it, I said. I went home that evening exactly at 6 o'clock. I walked through the front door of our massive custom home. The smell of expensive dinner cooking filled the air. Mia walked out of the kitchen. She wore a perfectly tailored dress. She smiled at me, a brilliant, practiced expression of total deception. "Hi, honey," she said, walking over and wrapping her arms around my neck. She kissed me. Her lips felt completely alien. "How was your day at the shop?" "Productive," I said, looking directly into her eyes. "I finished the electrical work on the roadster. It runs perfectly." "I am so proud of you," she said, resting her head against my chest. "You work so hard for us." It took every ounce of discipline in my body not to push her away. I sat at the dining room table. I ate the dinner she cooked. I listened to her talk about her day. I watched her check her phone every 10 minutes, her eyes darting to the screen. She was texting Sean. She was coordinating my ruin while pouring me a glass of red wine. "I have a spa weekend planned with the girls next Friday," Mia said casually, taking a sip of her wine. "We are heading up to the mountains. I will probably have zero cell service." "You deserve a break," I said smoothly. "You have been handling so much of the paperwork lately. I really appreciate it. We make a great team," she smiled. 3 days later, the ultimate insult occurred. I was standing on the shop floor, reviewing a blueprint for a custom security vault, when a sleek, black luxury sedan pulled into my garage. The engine cut off. The driver door opened. Sean stepped out. He wore a 3-piece suit that cost more than my first car. He walked onto my pristine shop floor, his expensive leather shoes clicking against the sealed concrete. He looked around with an expression of total disgust, waving a hand in front of his face to ward off the smell of welding smoke. I rolled up the blueprint. I walked over to him. "You are trespassing," I said, stopping exactly 3 feet away from him. "Relax, Richard," Sean said, holding up his hands in a mocking gesture of surrender. "I am not here to make another buyout offer. I know you are too stubborn to sell this dirty little garage." "Then why are you here?" "My car is making a strange noise in the steering column," Sean lied smoothly. "I know you are the best mechanic in the city. I wanted to see if you could take a look at it." He was testing me. He was standing in my business, sleeping with my wife, preparing to steal my money, and he wanted to look me in the eye while he did it. He wanted to feel the absolute thrill of knowing he was going to destroy me while I remained completely oblivious. I looked at his car, then I looked back at him. "I do not work on plastic corporate toys," I said, my voice low and hard. "I build machines from scratch, take it to a dealership." Sean smirked. He clearly enjoyed my hostility. He thought it was the flailing anger of a man he had already beaten. "Suit yourself," Sean said. "I guess some men are just meant to stay at the bottom, covered in dirt. Enjoy the garage, Richard. You will not have it much longer." "Get out," I said. Sean turned and walked back to his car. He drove away, the tires squealing on the pavement. I pulled out my phone and called David. "Is the legal trap completely set?" I asked. "The toxic debt has been successfully anchored to the target account," David confirmed. "The cash is completely secured. The moment they submit that blank operating agreement to the bank on Friday morning, the trap snaps shut. They will trigger an automatic transfer of liability." "Good," I said. Friday morning arrived. Mia packed a large designer suitcase. She claimed it was for the spa weekend. I knew it was packed for Monaco. "I will see you on Sunday night," Mia said, kissing my cheek by the front door. "I love you." "Goodbye, Mia," I said. I did not say I loved her back. She was too arrogant to notice. She drove away. I did not go to the shop. I got into my truck and drove directly to the massive glass skyscraper in the financial district where Sean managed his venture capital firm. David was waiting for me in the lobby. He handed me a thick, heavy folder. "They are upstairs in the executive conference room," David said. "They requested an emergency meeting with the senior bank director to manually push the wire transfer through." "Let us go," I said. We rode the elevator to the 40th floor. The doors slid open to reveal a massive, pristine reception area. The receptionist tried to stop us, asking if we had an appointment. I ignored her completely. I walked straight down the main hallway toward the executive conference room. The glass walls allowed me to see exactly what was happening inside. Mia and Sean were sitting close together at a massive mahogany table. The senior bank director was sitting across from them, reviewing a stack of paperwork. Mia was smiling. Sean was practically glowing with victory. I pushed the heavy glass door open. It hit the wall with a loud, resounding crack. Everyone at the table jumped. Mia's head snapped toward the door. When she saw me, all the blood instantly drained from her face. She looked at me, then at the suitcase sitting in the corner of the room, then back at me. "Richard?" she gasped, her voice barely a whisper. "What are you doing here?" Sean stood up, his face flushing with immediate anger. "You need to leave this office right now. Security!" I ignored Sean. I walked directly to the table and stood over them. David stepped into the room and closed the glass door behind us, locking it. "Hello, Mia," I said. My voice was calm, which terrified her more than if I had screamed. "Did you take a wrong turn on the way to the spa?" "Richard, please, I can explain," Mia stammered, pushing her chair back. Her hands were shaking violently. "There is nothing to explain," I said. I looked at the senior bank director. "Has the operating agreement been processed?" The director looked nervous. "Yes, Mr. Thompson. Your wife just submitted the signed authorization. The transfer was initiated exactly 2 minutes ago." Sean laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. He looked at me with total triumph. "You are too late, grease monkey," Sean sneered. "The deal is done. The money is gone. You signed the authorization. It is perfectly legal. You have absolutely nothing left. Go back to your empty garage." I did not flinch. I did not break eye contact with Sean. I just placed the heavy folder David gave me directly onto the center of the mahogany table. "You are right, Sean," I said perfectly calmly. "The deal is done. But you should really read the updated financial disclosures before you try to steal a corporate account." Sean frowned. He looked down at the folder. He opened it. I watched his eyes scan the first page. I watched the triumphant smirk completely vanish from his face, replaced by total, unadulterated horror. "What is this?" Sean whispered, his hands trembling as he flipped to the second page. "This is a debt ledger. Where is the $4 million? "I moved the cash to a secure trust on Tuesday," I said, leaning my hands on the table and towering over him. "Then I anchored the $5 million toxic debt from my failed real estate subsidiary directly into the holding account you just transferred to your personal names." Mia let out a strangled, terrified gasp. She grabbed the papers from Sean's hands. "By executing that forged transfer document with malicious intent," David said, speaking for the first time, his voice ringing with absolute legal authority, "you bypassed all limited liability protections. You personally assumed the entirety of that debt. The bank has already registered the transfer." "No!" Sean shouted, slamming his fist on the table. "This is fraud. You cannot do this." "You just handed a forged operating agreement to a federal bank director," David replied coldly. "That is wire fraud. It is a federal felony carrying a minimum of 10 years in prison." Mia started hyperventilating. She dropped the papers. She looked at Sean, her eyes wide with total panic. "Sean, fix this," Mia cried. "Cancel the transfer. Tell them to cancel it." "I cannot cancel it," Sean roared, losing his mind completely. "The authorization was hard-coded to bypass the holding period. The debt is already hitting my personal credit lines." I stood up straight. I looked down at the two of them. They were completely broken. The arrogant corporate predator and the treacherous wife, both drowning in a trap they had eagerly set for me. "You wanted my company, Sean," I said, my voice echoing in the silent room. "You wanted to bankrupt me and take everything I built. Congratulations. You now own $5 million of inescapable debt. The bank will seize your firm, your house, and your car by the end of the week." I turned my attention to Mia. She was sobbing, her perfect makeup ruined, her hands covering her face. "You thought I was boring," I said to her. "You thought you could blindside me because I spent my time working instead of playing corporate games. You forgot one very important thing, Mia." She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "What?" "I am an engineer," I said. "I know exactly how to dismantle things, and I know exactly how to crush them." I reached into my jacket pocket. I pulled out a single, neatly folded document and dropped it onto her lap. "Those are the divorce papers," I said. "You have absolutely zero claim to my personal trust, zero claim to my business, and you are currently an accessory to a federal wire fraud investigation. Do not ever contact me again." I turned and walked out of the conference room. David followed right behind me. We did not look back. We did not need to. The sound of Sean screaming at Mia, followed by the sound of glass breaking, echoed down the hallway. The fallout was massive, brutal, and completely public. The bank immediately froze all of Sean's assets. Because he used his venture capital firm's routing numbers to facilitate the fraudulent transfer, the federal authorities raided his office the following Wednesday. He was frog-marched out of his own glass skyscraper in handcuffs, surrounded by local news cameras. The $5 million debt completely destroyed his firm. His investors sued him into total oblivion. He is currently facing 15 years in federal prison for conspiracy and wire fraud. Mia tried to hire a lawyer to fight the divorce, but no reputable attorney would take a case funded by $0 and tied to a federal investigation. She had to move out of our custom home the next day. Her credit was completely destroyed by the shared liability of the toxic debt. She lost her job at the wealth management firm the second the fraud allegations became public. Nobody in the financial sector will ever hire her again. The last I heard, she was working double shifts at a cheap retail store on the edge of the city, living in a cramped, noisy apartment block with no air conditioning. She has no money, no luxury trips to Monaco, and absolutely zero future. I never spoke to her again. I did not waste another second of my life thinking about her. I went back to my garage. I went back to the smell of motor oil, the sound of heavy machinery, and the honest, hard work that built my life. My business expanded. With the toxic real estate debt legally transferred to Sean and completely wiped from my corporate books, my profit margins exploded. I hired 10 new fabricators. I bought the empty lot next door and doubled the size of my shop. Some people think betrayal is the end of the world. They think a broken heart means a broken life. They cry, they negotiate, they beg for closure from people who never respected them in the first place. I do not beg. I do not negotiate with thieves. I just put on my work boots, pick up my tools, and rebuild the engine stronger than it was before. And if someone tries to put their hands on the wheel of my life, I make absolutely sure they never drive again.